In the valley of Elah, two armies stood poised for battle, but neither dared to advance. On one side, the Israelites trembling under the shadow of fear. On the other, the Philistines, emboldened by the presence of their champion, a warrior whose size and strength seemed beyond human. This is the story of David and Goliath, a tale of courage, faith, and a boy who dared to believe that God's power was greater than any giant. The valley of Elah was a strategic battleground, with its rolling hills and open plains providing a natural stage for conflict. For 40 days, Goliath of Gath stepped forward each morning and evening, his booming voice echoing through the valley. Towering at nearly 10 feet tall, clad in bronze armor that glimmered under the sun, Goliath was a terrifying sight. His spear was as large as a weaver's beam, and his shield-bearer walked ahead of him, adding to his imposing presence. The Bible describes him in 1 Samuel 17, verse 4. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Goliath mocked the Israelites, taunting them with insults and daring anyone to face him in single combat. "Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me," he bellowed. "If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us." 1 Samuel 17, 8-9. Fear paralyzed the Israelite camp. Even King Saul, a man once known for his stature and courage, was dismayed. Who could stand against such a giant? Far from the battlefield, in the small town of Bethlehem, lived a young shepherd named David. The youngest of 8 brothers, David was often overlooked. His days were spent tending sheep, but those quiet moments in the fields were not wasted. It was there that David learned to trust God. Alone with his flock, he faced lions and bears, armed with nothing but his sling and faith. David's father, Jesse, sent him to the battlefield to bring food to his brothers and check on their well-being. Arriving at the camp, David heard Goliath's taunts and was shocked, not by the giant's size, but by the fact that no one in Israel dared to confront him. David asked indignantly, as recorded in 1 Samuel 17:26, "For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His boldness drew criticism from his eldest brother, Eliab, who accused him of pride and irresponsibility. But David's faith was unwavering. Word of his confidence reached King Saul, who summoned him. Standing before the king, David made a compelling case. "Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17:34-37. Saul relented, but offered David his own armor. The young shepherd tried it on, but it was too heavy and unfamiliar. "I cannot go with these," David said, "for I have not proved them." 1 Samuel 17:39. Instead, David chose his own weapons, a sling and 5 smooth stones from a nearby brook. Armed with nothing but his faith and the tools of a shepherd, David stepped onto the battlefield. As David approached the battlefield, the murmurs of the Israelite soldiers faded. Each step he took was a declaration of his faith. Goliath sneered when he saw David approaching. The Bible recounts his words in 1 Samuel 17:43, "Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves?" The giant cursed David by his gods and promised to feed his flesh to the birds and beasts. But David's response was fearless and full of conviction. As recorded in 1 Samuel 17:45-46, he declared, "Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." As Goliath advanced, David ran toward him. Reaching into his bag, he took out a stone, placed it in his sling, and hurled it with precision. The Bible captures this pivotal moment in 1 Samuel 17:49. "And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth." The moment Goliath's massive frame hit the ground, a stunned silence fell over the battlefield. The Philistines, once emboldened by their champion, were now paralyzed with fear. David ran to Goliath's body, took the giant's sword, and used it to sever his head. The Bible emphasizes this in 1 Samuel 17:51. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. The sight of their fallen warrior sent the Philistine army into chaos. They fled, pursued relentlessly by the Israelites, who found new courage in David's victory. That day the valley of Elah became a place of triumph for God's people. David's triumph was not merely a physical victory, but a testament to the power of faith. It was a declaration that God does not rely on conventional weapons or human strength. As David proclaimed in 1 Samuel 17:47, "For the battle is the Lord's." This story reminds us that no matter how insurmountable our challenges appear, with God, nothing is impossible. What giants are you facing today? Remember David's faith. Trust in the Lord and know that the battle belongs to Him.